This is the session just before the tea break, so please hold your energies for a very electric discussion with Shridhar and Balu. Both of them are stalwarts in whatever field they have been working in. One started with an NGO and now at the head of a leading organization of the government called the Capacity Building Commission, Dr. R. Balu. Uh, and he has very recently authored a book, Power Within, the leadership, on leadership and personal leadership behaviors. And Shridhar, of course, leads a very, very, I would say, one of the biggest organizations in the social sector. So, I would not like to talk a lot about their organization, but I would like to talk to them about their journeys. What made Balu the Balu he is today, and what made Shridhar the Shridhar he is today. So I would like Balu and Shridhar to maybe reflect and go back into your younger days or early childhood days as to what inspired you, and both of you started in the business sector, you started in the social sector, you moved from social sector to the government sector, you moved from the corporate sector to the social sector. So what was these trigger points and what inspired you when you started your journey? So maybe with Balu.
I didn't want to be, my voice is bad, so pardon me for that. I'm just recovering from a bad infection. I didn't want to be where I am today. So I was just like any other young 17-year-old who wanted to do computer science and go where my siblings went. My siblings are all in the US. And I didn't get into IIT. So very disappointed. Didn't get into what was then called regional engineering colleges, RECs. Just took some college in Bangalore. I think fate has a way of dealing with all these things. And that college was beside the Ramakrishna Ashram. And the first day of college, I was so badly ragged that I never had the courage to go back to college the next day. There was no anti-ragging act those days. So after being ragged, coming from a typical middle-class family which always valued studies more than anything else, homemaker mother who was possibly doubly intelligent than what career women can be, and you can't lie to her. You have to say something to her. So I would tell her, college is half day, just started, and spend the half day at the Ramakrishna Mission. Couple of days of just walking around, wandering around. Bangalore Ashram has got a lovely orchard. The monks there thought I come to steal fruits. And just to tell them that I have not come here to steal fruits, to show off, I went and sat in their library. I think the next 2 months changed my life. I read pretty much everything Swami Vivekananda wrote in 2 months. I didn't understand much, but I read it. 8 volumes those days, now it's 10 volumes. But I think 2 books changed my life, and I still believe every young person in India should read these 2 books. One was called to the youth of India, and the other was called to the nation. So I think what Swamiji said, very simple statements, like I call every young man a traitor, who having been educated at people's expense can't pay the least heed to them. Or stuff like, I do not believe in a God or religion which cannot wipe the widow's tears or bring a piece of bread to the orphan's mouth. And that day, I still remember, it was September 30th, 1982, I was 17. I felt if I get a chance in life, I will do something different. I didn't want to be a doctor. I never even imagined I'll be a doctor. And the day I felt that very strongly, I come back home, I find a telegram saying, join Mysore Medical. I don't know if young people of today know what a telegram is. It is not an app. It is actually something with the Post and Telegraphs Department is to send in an emergency. So I got a telegram which said, join Mysore Medical College immediately. I saw that as a sign of the divine. I still believe it was the way Vivekananda communicated and said, your life is for something else. And I joined medicine. At 19, third year of medicine, I started the Vivekananda Youth Movement. That's what SVYM actually represents. And 87, I graduated, I just went into the forest. So I think the next 30 years were the best years of my life, living in the forest with the tribals, like them, amidst them, with them. That chance getting ragged was a blessing.
Thank you, Shridhar.
First of all, I would like to thank Chairman Sudhir Bhai Mehta and Vice Chairman Hasmukh Bhai for inviting us. And Saurabh, thank you for this wonderful path-breaking initiative. In my case, no, I grew up in a middle class or a lower middle class family in Nagpur, patriotic. I had everything for my needs, but not for greed. I always wanted to become an army guy. Okay, so in engineering, I got selected in the Indian Navy. So I still remember the Commodore asking me this question: "Why you want to join the Indian Navy?" So I told him. I remember I told him in Hindi. I told him, "Sir, marne ke pehle kuch karke marna hai. I don't want to die just like that." So it so happened I was the youngest at home, and my mother didn't allow me to join the Indian Navy. But then, many years later, Akshaya Patra happened. And I feel so blessed that this is a platform for me to give back to this great nation. How Akshaya Patra happened was, in a typical engineer MBA, you want to become a CEO by the age of 40. So I had a good opportunity to work overseas. And I was very, very inspired by the Krishna consciousness movement. And I used to volunteer with Akshaya Patra. And the chairman of Akshaya Patra, my boss, two bosses I have monks, both of them are monks. Okay, and it's blessed to be working with a monk actually. So he called me to his office. His name is Sri Madhu Pandit Das. He's from IIT Mumbai. And he said, Shridhar, what are you doing? So I told him, you see, I'm transitioning from one organization to another. So he asked me one calling kind of a question. He said, Shridhar, why are you building empires for others? Build for these children, build for Krishna's children. That is the words I still remember he said. That was like a moment of calling for me. And I don't know what happened to me. I said yes to him. I didn't even check with my wife. So I called her and told that I'm making this move. She just asked me one question. "Apne khane pine ke liye to ho jayega na kuch na kuch." So, but she has been a great supporter for me and big sheet anchor. And I think sometimes in life, a moment of calling like this make a huge impact, and you take a complete detour. And then after a few years, I happened to meet some of my friends, and one of them said, I'm working for IBM, another said, I'm working for Samsung, another said, I'm working for Philips, I'm doing this. I said, I'm working for Krishna. Okay, I work for God, I'm doing God's work. So many years later, some of them want to come and join me now. Okay, so I feel truly it has been a transformative journey for me. I could not have asked more from God. You know, feeding children, we believe, is not charity. Feeding children is our social responsibility. How can you make our children go hungry? And when you see what happened was, I'll just take a quick 1 minute, tell a story. We reached a milestone of feeding 1 million children. We started with 5 schools and 1,500 children. And today we feed 2.25 million children every day in over 23,000 schools. So I was very curious to know what is the impact of this program on a child, more than all these awards and accolades. So this boy came to my office, tall, 6'3", grown-up guy, and he carried an envelope in his hand. So I asked him, can you tell me about yourself? So he said, I was son of a security guard, part-time security guard. Father was earning few thousand rupees per month, family of 6 people. So I asked him, how was your academic performance? He said, most of the days I used to faint in the class. This was many, many years back. And I asked him how much you used to get. He said about 40% marks. So I asked him, what happened after the Akshaya Patra program came to your school? So he said, my attention span went up. I was able to focus better. I was able to study well. 40 became 60 the next year. 60 became 80. And in 10th, I scored 92% marks. And he remembered, I had forgotten, he remembered that we had given a 5,000 rupee scholarship to him to study 11th and 12th. And he said, with that I studied BTech in computer science. And I stood first class with distinction. And he opened a white envelope. It was an offer letter from India's leading multinational company with a pay 30 times of his father. And he said, I no more, my father no more works. That day I decided that I'll never leave Akshaya Patram. This is my life's calling. This is, when you see, as a youngster, I learned happiness moves in circles. When I make Balu happy, Balu makes Saurav happy, Saurav makes someone else happy. We get into the circle of happiness. So I said, this is the platform for me to be in. And it's immensely gratifying for me.
Wonderful. Want to add something?
No, I'm so touched.
No. Well, that's really inspiring. And I would now like to kind of fast forward their lives maybe 30 years later. In fact, मैं आज सुबह से सोच रहा था when I was listening to Modi ji and then many other speakers, is leadership is really a very complicated thing which we try and decode, or is it a very simple thing? And somehow it's kind of the way it is playing in my mind. It's really a very simple thing in terms of when we look at these leaders from Modi ji and industrial leaders like Piramal ji and many others. You are also leading two big organizations. You, the government, one of the big organizations in Government of India, you are leading a very large social sector organization. Is leadership as simple as a set of behaviors which we exhibit as leaders, be it a CEO or be it a member of capacity building commission? And then what are those behaviors which we as leaders should exhibit, which bring us the whatever it is in the true ourselves? And Balu, you have actually studied Modi ji's life also. So maybe some examples from your life and his life, and then your own examples, Shridhar, as to when you execute as a CEO of Akshaya Patra. What are the leadership behaviors which you kind of exhibit, which makes you what you are? And
I actually want to go back to what I learned leadership from, whom I learned leadership from. From several different people actually, but I would like to specifically talk about one tribal leader. Funnily, I'm now in government, but I'm known mostly for my suing the government a lot. And I was an activist. And I was very troubled by the way the tribals in the forest were treated by the government. So I had filed cases against the government of India, against the government of Karnataka, and it was a losing battle against the forest department. And the tribals are getting very disturbed. They were getting very angry. They were getting very violent. And all my convictions were in the teachings of Vivekananda and Gandhi. And I thought, I'm losing this battle now. And I was also tending to become a little violent in my thinking. Around that time when everything looked bleak, there was a traditional chieftain called Modli Madaya. I still remember, and I wasn't interacting with him a lot, but he came and met me one day and said, looks like you're losing this battle. I think now you need my support. Very proactively reached out to me. I'm a 26, 27-year-old, angry young man, angry at the system. And here was a 40, 45-year-old chieftain, was the head of all the chieftains. And I thought, what will this man tell me now? And then he said, can you give me 10 days, the next 10 days of your life to me? I said, I'm now losing this battle. I don't mind giving the next 1 month to you if you can win it for me. The next 10 days were the best days of my life. We walked around tribal colony to colony to colony in the forest. There were no roads at that time, no buses, nothing. No food. For 10 days, our food was puffed rice, what we used to call puri in Kannada, and black jaggery tea. If you got it twice a day, it was great meal. If you got it once a day, that's all you got. And we must have covered at least 200, 250 kilometers of walking in 10 days. Colony to colony. Slept on their floors, didn't have a bedsheet to cover, all the mosquitoes biting you. And I was wondering, how is this going to get me to win this battle against government? But Modli Madaya was a great strategist in my view. Traditional chieftains, they're not trained in Harvard like me. They're trained in the real university called life. And after 10 days, I asked him, Modli Madaya, why did you make me do all this? He said, you were defeated, even before you were defeated. And look at the leadership statement. All I taught you was gave you inspiration. I said, how did you inspire me? Nothing, you never spoke to me. He said, you lived the life of a tribal for 10 days now. This is the life we live because of what government has done to us. We've been brought out of the forest. Mosquitoes feed on us. We have no house to live in. We sleep on the floors. It is puffed rice and tea is what we eat every day. If this is not going to inspire you to fight our battles, nothing else is going to. So he actually lived the inspiration message in an immersive way for me. And then I asked him, but why did you come and join this? You gain nothing from this. You got 2.5 acres of land. You have been rehabilitated. What do you gain? He said, that is what gives me the legitimacy to join you, because I gain nothing from this. Now, Vivekananda says the two national ideals of India should be Seva and Tyaga. Modli Madhaya never knew any Vivekananda. He had never studied any Vedanta, but he was living Seva and Tyaga. Seva for his fellow tribals, and Tyaga because he wanted nothing. And even today, he got nothing. We forcibly got him a Rajyotsava award, saying that he deserves it more than all the so-called pseudo-leaders who keep getting these awards. Right? And that day I learned leadership is not something it's not behaviors and traits. It's the actions you live. And I see that when I was looking at Prime Minister Modi's life, it was possibly the greatest 2 years that I could study his life in detail. It was not the behavior he exhibits. That comes naturally. It is the leadership he demonstrates all the time. From the crucible moment as a 6-year-old child that told him that my life is for the seva of others, to what he demonstrates today. And I've captured it very evidentially. It's not just a romanticized story I'm talking. Every single small step is always a life lived for others. And that's what makes it special. And Modli Madhaya was telling me, it doesn't matter if we win this battle or not. The court case we might never win, we might lose. But what matters is you don't lose before you lose. And I think if you look at Prime Minister's life, he doesn't really celebrate victory, nor do he become despondent on losing something. The forest, in my case, it was the forest earlier. Now, if you look at Prime Minister, the farm laws, he genuinely believed we could double farmers' income. And we all, as a policy analyst, I can tell you that could have changed India's agrarian economy. But we felt bad, but he was going on life as usual the next day. And then when he withdrew and said, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done this, it was ahead of its time, he wasn't really feeling despondent and given up. He was genuinely communicating to citizens and farmers at that time, saying, this is what it is. That's Siddhapragnate that he demonstrates. And the same Siddhapragnate I saw in tribal chieftain Modli Madhaya. Absolutely poor, but not blaming government for its poverty. That's just the acceptance that we all desperately want to achieve, that level of acceptance, which the Gita talks about. These people live it. And so to me, it's not the traits, it's not the behaviors. Those are what manifest the power within that they accumulate, and the demonstration of that power is outside. So both of them, I feel, live that one powerful Vedic message, which Vivekananda popularized. Atmano mokshartam jagatitayacha. Constant self-evolution, manifesting as the good of society, Jagatsita. Doing Jagatsita and therefore evolving yourself internally. I saw these two extremes, one completely unnoticed, Modli Madhaya, one constantly under scrutiny, Prime Minister Modi, but the principles are the same.
Thank you, thank you.
Saurabh, in my case, my inspiration has been my spiritual master, Swami Srila Prabhupada, who's the founder Acharya of International Institute of Krishna Consciousness, who also gave the visionary seed for Akshaya Patra, which became a secular trust in 2000. He built 108 temples across the world, and in just 10 years, everybody knows ISKCON, but nobody knows Prabhupada. I think to me, that is leadership. You know, organization and principles above your own self. That's number one. Second is, I learned this from my chairman, who's also an inspiration for me, that your ability to take risk is infinite when you are selfless. There's another learning. And you can do big things. And third learning, which I had, Saurabh, was generally when people talk of leadership, you talk of leading 500, 10,000, 10,000, 1 lakh people. But I think the most important leadership is leading your own self. So there is a hierarchy within your body. There is a mind-body system that is there. One needs to lead that. And then if you're able to lead that, you'll be far, far effective as a leader. And a couple of more things I learned from leadership, since you're talking about behavior. One needs to be consistent internally and externally, at home and in office. You can't have different value system in office, another one in home. Okay, so internally and externally being consistent and genuinely caring for your people. I'll tell you one example. There was one young girl we met post-COVID, family of 6. She said, my family wants to thank Akshaya Patra and the leadership. So I said, why? She said, I'm a family of 6 people. All of us were earning. All of them lost job during COVID time. And he said, with the 25,000 rupees salary Akshaya Patra gave, and you didn't stop it. Akshaya Patra did not stop her salary. I could run the family. So genuinely caring for your people and walking the talk when it comes to values and above all, culture. I define culture as our values in action. So if the leadership genuinely walks the talk, then the people rally behind you. These are some of my learnings, and they have left an indelible mark in my life. And since I work for God, I always feel the presence of God in any kind of situation, whether good, bad, ugly, and it's a force by itself.
Yeah. Thank you.
You can just add to this.
Yes, sure.
I wouldn't say behavior or traits, but what I have seen of these people who really have control of heart, body, mind, and soul, and this is also research, not just my research, a lot of people have researched. They manifest 8 different extraordinary qualities, and you can consistently see this. First is compassion, extraordinary karuna, and Ajay ji was talking about it in the morning too. Second, very strangely, is faith and hope. Now, Vivekananda says this, and for the young people of today, he says, you may have faith in the 33,000 crore gods you have invented, but if you don't have faith in yourself, that's the greatest atheist. Faith and hope. Faith that I can do whatever I set out to do, and hope that everything in the future will be great, which is something which is remarkable. The third is a sense of humor. I found these people can laugh not at others, they can laugh with others, and that's a very big difference. The spirit of service. For them, seva is not transactional. It's not help. I help you, you'll say thank you. It's also transactional. But I just do it looking at the divinity in you. That, that Shivajnane Jiva Seva concept. I look at you and therefore I see God in you and I worship the God in you. Sense of humor is, I already said, a spirit of self-inquiry. For them, I see this. Spirituality is not something sitting in the Himalayas and meditating. It's a constant struggle to discover yourself. Who am I? Why am I here? Why am I sitting here today? I wanted to be here this morning. I just couldn't be. That is destiny. Accepting it. Right? So these questions are very deep if you can keep looking at it. But these people ask themselves all the time, why am I privileged to be doing this? And an extraordinary sense of, it's not self-doubt. Somebody spoke of self-doubt in the morning. I think self-doubt is a virtue. If it doesn't incapacitate you, if it drives you to be humble enough to learn. But if you become diffident and despondent, that's a different kind of self-doubt. So to me, these people have extraordinary spirit of self-inquiry. And more importantly, they're extremely mindful. They are people who are all the time mindful. If they can just resonate with the simple question, who am I? And ask this deep answer. And these are people who do that. And therefore, whatever they manifest, what we see as behaviors and traits are actually expressions of that growing power within. Vivekananda says, the more you live for others, the more your inner dynamo gets charged up. And without knowing it, they start manifesting all this. And that's what I found in most of these people I've researched.
Yeah. No, and I think these are living examples of the tribal leader at Prime Minister Modi. I think this is the last part I want to kind of just touch upon. Maybe we can do a longish conversation over tea, etc., because we want to take some questions as well. But the last part I want to say, how relevant these lessons are for the Insta age. And because tomorrow, one of them may become the CEO of Akshaya Patra, one of them may become the CVC chairman in 20 years' time, etc. how these lessons are relevant for the future, for 2047, 2057. Do you feel they will be relevant, or there's more to come, or everything has been already found or discovered, or any thoughts on that?
In my opinion, these lessons are for eternity, number one. Because like knowledge of Gita is for eternity, right? Concept of soul, nobody can doubt. 1,000 years, 10,000 years down the line, you can't doubt it, right? Soul's willingness or wanting to seek service or pleasure. 1,000 years back it was same, 10,000 years later it will be same. So these cannot be changed. Purpose cannot be changed. Service cannot be changed. So I think these are very, very relevant. You may have different adaptations of it, but at the core, they remain the same. And I feel they should remain the same. Because see, there is nothing called American blood or Indian blood. Right? Blood is blood. Right? The skin, outer skin may be different, an American skin or a Indian skin. Sure. Right? So I think they are very, very relevant. And my request to all the youngsters here is to look at the timeless wisdom of Bhagavad Gita and the great scriptures which we have, Bhagavatam. India has tremendous amount of knowledge. And I think apart from learning modern things, our youngsters should look at the Indian value system, Indian ethos, and apply it in management. And of course, now the world is looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Thank you. Yeah.
I would sort of echo what Shridhar said. My view is, if you don't learn from your past, you'll never build a great future, first of all. And I'm not saying I've discovered a lot, but what I've written in the book Power Within took me 13 years of research to different scriptures. The funny part was mostly mostly Hindu scriptures and a little bit of Buddhism and Jainism. But whether it's Atma Bodha or Viveka Chudamani, whether it is Bhagavad Gita or some other Upanishads, the core leadership message, they may be articulated in different ways. And all of them have been spaced in different points of time. If you look at the historicity of these scriptures. But the message has remained universal. And that's what I personally believe what Swami Vivekananda said. He said the scriptures don't change, but our understanding, interpretation, we evolve from one level of truth to the next level of truth. Our instrumentation, our antennas are getting finer. So our way of interpreting the truth might be slightly different and better. And to me, leadership is always in context. The context of ChatGPT is different. The context of the future for these young people is going to be different. But the paradigms from which they can find solutions for the context, they are going to be the same. Now, if they are intelligent enough to draw lessons from those paradigms, I think the world is at their feet.
I just want to add to what Balu said. Since there's a lot of talk about AI can never replace leadership. So this is a very personal game and needs emotional intelligence, spiritual quotient. Okay, whether people agree or don't agree, people who are high achievers, they have a very high level of spiritual quotient, whether they know it or they don't know it. Right?
This discussion can go on and on, but I think I'm getting signals of being in time. So yes, we'll take some questions. Can we hand over the mics, please?
You can ask without the mic, I think.
No, there's a mic. Please hand over to her. Yeah.
Good evening, sir. My question is that we all work hard to achieve success in life. So, for some people, success can be earning financial stability. For some, it can be being happy in life. What do you think is true success for both of you? And for which success should we work hard?
In my view, first of all, it's a great question. In my view, if you can transform lives of people around you, transform lives of people who need, I think that's real success, number one, because all of us are looking for happiness. Whether he is a CEO, whether he is a clerk, whether he is a prime minister, president, whatever, any living person, including beasts, animals, they look for happiness, right? And happiness, true happiness comes from giving. So if we can really give and transform truly, if you can transform their heart, that is the highest level of success.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
I have a slightly different take. I think each of us have a different definition of success, right? It all belongs, it's very generational. For some, success can be how many people I murder, right? And for some, it could be like Veerappan. I lived in his area, in the forest where he came. It was number of elephants he killed or number of forest officers he killed. Each of us have a different rating for that. To me, my definition of success came from a very, very painful incident that I experienced. Until I discovered that, I don't think I've succeeded. And that hunger is still there, that restlessness is still there. That's what keeps me going every day. In one of my books, Voices from the Grassroots, I write that voice that keeps me going. So I'm going to be, in 20 seconds or 30 seconds, I'll try to narrate it. I was a young physician who went into the forest thinking that I'm going to be the next Albert Schweitzer, the Nobel Prize is just around the corner. They have only discovered me to give it to me. And I didn't see a single tribal come and show themselves to me. Just imagine you're a young graduate gone to the forest giving up, and I was a university ranker. In my mind, I thought I'd given up a lot, right? And I go there and nobody even cares a damn about your presence. I was desperately looking for somebody to fall sick and come to me. And somebody came and told me young Madhi was pregnant and she's about to deliver. For me, it was celebration time. I had to walk through the forest. It's India's largest elephant corridor where I lived. Tigers, Project Tiger, leopards, everything was there. I went to this house. I wanted to check on her. She was a chieftain's daughter. My ego flowered. If I can deliver the chieftain's daughter, all the people will now fall at my feet, right? I'll be God. And I checked her, she was 14 years old. And she was primigravida, first pregnancy. In tribals those days, they never had structured marriage. They would just live together, they get pregnant, that's all. And I thought, again, my mind tell me, high-risk pregnancy. Now if I deliver her, I'll be great. I'll be real super God now. But then medicine also told me that it'll take 24 hours to deliver. Just labor had started. So I went back to my hut thinking that I don't want to be the dinner for some tiger. Next early morning, 6 o'clock, I rushed. I thought I should go deliver her now. On the way, one of the tribal women was taking water from a hand pump. She told me, where are you going? The elephants are just coming back from the river. I said, no, I have to go deliver Madhi. And she looked at me and said, don't have to rush. She's already delivered. I was disappointed. Why the hell can't that baby wait like the textbook told me, 24 hours? Why could it come out in 12 hours? But I still went there. I wanted to prove I'm a doctor. I'm not interested in serving her. I wanted to prove to myself that I'm a doctor. To her, I'm a doctor. It's a small hut. In tribal society, you don't enter the colony without the chieftain's permission. You don't enter the hut without the lady's permission. It's matriarchal, matrilineal society. I was standing at the hut, asking the child to come out and show me the baby. I knew I could hear her. I heard her noise inside. And she kept on saying, she didn't answer at all. After 10 minutes, I got really angry. 22-year-old young doctor thinking he's going to be God. And this girl is not coming out to the child to show to me. I shouted at her and said, if you don't come out and show me the baby, I'm going to come into your house and see it anyway. And that's when she screamed, and that scream is not gone from my head. It scarred me. It's inspired me too. She screamed saying, please don't come in. I have nothing to wear. That child only had one sari she was wearing. She delivered her own baby. While delivering the placenta, the sari got soiled. She had washed it in the middle of the night, put it on her hut, and until the sun came out, she didn't have anything else to wear. And that day I told myself, as long as Bharat has got one Madhi like this, I can never say my life is a success. And so I'm still in search of that. And even people ask me, why are you then in government? I'm hoping, Prime Minister, when he said something very inspiring to me. He said, आपको किताब लिखने का और भाषण देने का समय खत्म हो गया. जो आई द सिटीज में लिखे हुए हैं करके दिखाओ मुझे. And so to me, if I can transform our civil services with that seva bhav that he wants them to have, with that spirit of Jan Bhagidari, that's serving 1 million Madhis indirectly. And so maybe then I might have partially succeeded. It's very difficult. Very, very senior mentor, Hasmukhji is here. We're inspired by his life itself. If there are more Hasmukhjis, there's no commission at all necessary. But it's because they are the exception, we need the capacity building commission. And if we can create more such people, then possibly I'll be closer to success, but I don't know whether I'll succeed at all.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
just one more question, then we can break for tea.
Good evening, sir. This is Akash Kaushik. I am also a researcher and I hail from Chhattisgarh. My question is to Shridhar, sir, but before, sir, Bala, sir, you have mentioned a very good thing regarding the leadership behavior and at the same time trait. But action is more oriented, and that's what in management we call it as a transformational leadership. Now coming to question, Sridhar sir, how you manage transparency and accountability, particularly in a non-profit organization? This is my question, sir.
You know, Hasmukh sir is here. Even before the note ban happened, in 2008, Akshaya Patra banned cash donations within us. Okay? So why I'm mentioning this is every leadership action should be towards transparency and making sure, because we are dealing with donors' money, government money, so every penny has to be traceable and, okay? And there will be many opportunities where people may say, can you do this shortcut? I'll give you 100, give me 30, okay? First time you cross the line, then you set a precedence. So what I'm trying to tell you is, be very, very careful to evaluate, am I crossing the line of integrity and transparency, okay? If you're careful on that front, and you stand by it, and you can build it, okay?
I just want to quickly add to this. The Paramacharya of Kanchi was a great guru for me. One day, and half the time he would never speak. You would just sit with him, you learn a lot. One day he told me, you started an organization, you have to keep begging all your life. But there'll be opportunities when somebody will come and say, I'll give you ₹1,00,000. Be very wary of taking that 1 lakh. On the other hand, try to take 1 rupee from 1 lakh people. And I thought, what's happened to this old man? He must have really gone senile now. So easy to take 1 lakh from one person. Why can I can't go to 100,000 people. Then he added quickly, he said, if one man gives you ₹1,00,000, there's only 4 eyes looking at you. You'll be surprised, where is the 4 coming from? If 1 lakh people give you money, there is 2 lakh and 2 eyes looking at you. I said, what's happening? He said, if the man who gave you is looking at you, and you are looking at yourself, it's better that 2 lakh, 2 eyes look at you. You're more safer that way. I think transparency is all, that's all. The sense of accountability that you give to society, to whom you owe your existence, you will automatically be transparent. The moment you measure integrity from convenience parameters and not from conviction parameters, you lost the battle.
Thank you so much. I think there's one more question you want to? Okay. Yeah, this is the last one.
Namaskar and good evening, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and the stories. They were really motivating. And thank you so much for bringing in Bhagavad Gita and our scriptures that teach us about leadership. So as you both said that, like, whatever you conveyed, I did understand that somewhere we, as a leader, we also work for the greater good, as you gave the example of Madhi and how you took this resolve. Even sir said that you work for the God. So it's basically working towards creating more impact. However, sir, besides this like-minded group of people that I'm sitting with, somewhere outside we still have educational institutes, we still have a society where the mindset is limited till personal pursuits, and it's not wrong. Like even in colleges, placements and personal endeavors are still a restriction, and there's nothing wrong about it, but it's a restriction, it's a limitation. People don't don't push those mindsets. So I just wanted to ask, as a leader, how can I help my co-mates push beyond that mindset?
I remember a story Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said to one of his devotees. It's a Buddhist story, he also repeated it. He said, I'll take you to the river bank and push you into the water. Right? What will you think about?
Saving one's life.
Yes, right? You'll only want to come out and breathe. He said, even at that point of time, if you say, I want God, then you'll find God. So if you want to lead and serve society, don't give an excuse of outside world is like this, colleges are like this, my classmate is saying this, my father is saying good to take a job. If you believe inside that in service I'll dissolve myself till I find God, then you are safe.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think we're done. Okay. Thank you, Balu. Thank you, Shridhar, for this wonderful session. Lots of insights. Maybe some of you may go back into the YouTube channel and again listen to these lessons. I think these will be very useful. So yeah, thank you very so much. A big round of applause for Shridhar and Balu. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you, Sanjay Sorrow, sir, for moderating the session so well. And also, to both the gentlemen about telling the core values that are needed to be a great leader. And I request Saurav sir to kindly present the mementos to both the gentlemen.